Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is staying safe in this pandemic. I hope everyone's washing their hands and especially wearing gloves and wearing a face mask, so we don't end up like this guy
on this bus. Well, apparently one fellow ignored that. Take a look.
Well, I haven't made any videos ever since my best movies of the 2010 part 2. And I mean, I haven't got that many recommendations though. There was one girl at my theater group club recommended I review this movie called Human Centipede. I think it has like made 3 or 4 sequels.
It's about a guy who,
I can't wait to hear you just
yeah,
describe
well,
this.
it's about some kind of crazy doctor who stitches together a bunch of people mouth to anus, and calls them the human centipede.
Right.
And I thought, when I heard that, I was like, okay, well, that's just like ingeniously disgusting.
I'll look into that movie another time. But so I'd like to say, growing up, I never really had a Blu-ray player. I mostly grew up with VHS tapes and DVDs, and I have more DVDs than Blu-rays. So until I was 9, my TV started going crazy. It was like the volume wasn't working anymore. So my parents then bought a flat screen TV with the Blu-ray player, and so over those 3 years, I've gotten like a lot of Blu-rays, not as much as a lot of people, but I'm just gonna review all the Blu-rays, my Blu-ray collection. So started with my very first Blu-ray I ever got, Men in Black 3. So I remember my mom buying me this double feature of Men in Black 1 and 2. And so I remember I went on a trip out to my aunt and uncle's house. It was like an hour away from where I lived, I guess. And so I watched Men in Black and Men in Black 2 for the entire trip. I watched all 2 of the first 2 Men in Black movies. And I remember liking both of them. And I remember coming back home and I put on the Men in Black theme song, which I loved, and I still kind of listen to it till this day. So then when I heard there was a Men in Black 3, I watched the trailer, and I was like, I have to see this movie. It looked so good because it had time travel and these weird things that looked like they're from Minecraft, but even though they were not in the movie that much, it still looked pretty cool. And also like Agent J teaming up with a younger Agent K. It looks pretty cool. So then I remember 2 days later or something, my mom bought this at Walmart, and well, it's on DVD, and I've watched it on DVD ever since. But so I actually loved Men in Black 3. It was my favorite out of the franchise. But then when International came out, when I rewatched both the first 3, the first one is the best one, is the better movie. Men in Black 2, it's not that great. It's not good. Not even though it's not the worst movie ever, but it's just not good. Men in Black 3, the opening, it's just but when Jay goes back to the 60s, then it's pretty good, and it's a good conclusion to the trilogy, and it leaves you with a warm feeling at the end. So next Blu-ray, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 2014. I love this movie as a kid. I had a movie theater birthday party for this movie, even though the movie came out in August, and my birthday's in July. But I loved it anyway. And I remember constantly watching it on like a bootleg thing on my iPad. And I got this for Christmas on Blu-ray and DVD. And over the years, it's not up there with my favorite movies, but it's not as good as the original Ninja Turtles movies from the 90s. But it's fun, action, superhero, schlock. Michael Bay doesn't really ruin the movie. It's not as bad as the Transformer movies. But I like it. It still captures like the personalities of the turtles which I give credit for the filmmakers for doing that. But yeah, it's a guilty pleasure, and but the sequel is not Star Wars: The Complete Saga. This is episodes 1 through 6. This is before Force Awakens came out, probably 3 weeks, 3 or 2 weeks before Force Awakens ever came out, which I also I got on the first day it came out, but on DVD and Blu-ray, and well, what else? What else can I say? It's Star Wars. Peanuts. I haven't watched this movie in a while. I saw it in the theaters. I watched this once when I first got it on Blu-ray. I remember liking it. I don't know what to say about this one. I just haven't watched it in a while, but I remember it being a good movie when I first saw it. West Side Story. This is my favorite Broadway musical, and I say it's even though I haven't seen the Broadway, the new show that's on Broadway, the re-release of it, but this movie it's the Broadway musical just on it's from Hollywood, and it's just on the big screen, and but I love it. I love the cinematography and the sets, the choreography and the acting and the songs. They're very good. And this new Spielberg movie, it's very unnecessary to be made, Spielberg. Come on, just go back to making Indiana Jones 5. Predator. This is I bought this movie when the Predator came out, which I didn't see. I've only seen Predator and Predator 2. Which Predator 2 is also good. And this movie is also good. This is a good movie from Arnold Schwarzenegger. I like the effects, and the Predator is pretty imitating. I like the plot. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger and Apollo Creed just go out into the woods, and they end up fighting an alien, and it's a nice movie that's in the Alien universe. I do believe in that. All right, so yeah, Predator. It's a good action movie. Not great, but it's decent fun. Dunkirk. This is my second favorite Christopher Nolan movie. Number one being Inception, and I can't wait for Tenet, which is still coming out on its July release date. And this is a very good war movie. Maybe this should have won Best Picture. It's this movie is just this movie never takes a break, and it's just about these men trying to get off this beach, and it's not very rewatchable. You don't really want to go back watching it because you just kind of get it, and it's very short. I mean, it's just it's a chase film about these guys just trying to get off a beach and get back home. And that's all it is. But it's a very good action movie from Christopher Nolan. Edward Scissorhands. This is probably my favorite Tim Burton movie. Not a big fan of him, but its only competition is Batman. But I really like this movie. This is a very strange, unique film. This is probably his best use of his gothic imagery stuff, but mixing it with modern day, which is another part I like, and it's a fascinating film. And okay, yes, I know I said how I was pissed about what Kirsten from Kirsten Request said about Mission Impossible Fallout, but I kind of like his idea about Yorgos Lanthimos, the director of The Lobster and The Favorite, doing a remake of it. It would be kind of interesting to see. Also, fun fact, the first time I watched this movie was the night before I saw Dumbo, and Dumbo sucked. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, a beautifully animated film that definitely deserved the Oscar for Best Animated Feature, and it is a great origin story for Miles Morales. It's not perfect, as people bring it up to be, but I do like that we did get a good Miles Morales origin story, And I like Jake Johnson's portrayal of Peter Parker in this movie. And again, the animation on how Phil Lord and Chris Miller edits their movies is just fantastic. But I don't think any of the Spider-Man movies have gotten up to the first two Sam Raimi movies. T, the Extraterrestrial, not the best Spielberg movie, and it's not one of my favorites. I don't think it was really snubbed, but the effects and the child acting is very good. The Incredible Hulk. This is my only MCU movie that I have on Blu-ray. I'm not ashamed of it. This movie is not as bad as people say it is. It's not the worst MCU movie. That goes to Iron Man 2 or Thor: The Dark World. But The Incredible Hulk, it's like a remake of the Bill Bixby show, and it has some of the but it brings the characters from the comics, and it's just a big blockbuster. So that's kind of what this is. It's entertaining, popcorn fun. And it's enjoyable. Not the worst MCU movie. Both Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. I love Blade Runner. It's one of my favorite science fiction films, and I think it's my favorite Ridley Scott movie, and it's my favorite movie in this cinematic universe of Alien and Predator. But yeah, I really love it. I love Harrison Ford's acting and just the effects and the world building and the plot. It's very good. 2049, I like it. It's a good sequel. I can't wait for the director's next film, Dune. It definitely deserved the award for cinematography and visual effects. But I thought it was a little too confusing. And I don't like. I like that it doesn't try to top the original, even though some people say it does. But I like it. It's a decent sequel. Lead of Battle Angel. I'm not a big fan of Robert Rodriguez. I don't really like any of the Spy Kids movies. I haven't seen any of his R-rated stuff or the stuff he did with Tarantino. But this is a good science fiction film. I like Christoph Waltz. And I do like just the world, and it's just not one big action spectacle. It's more of a low level sci-fi film. I like it. It's a decent movie, and it was very underrated. Aquaman. I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters. You can definitely tell because I haven't opened it yet. But a lot of people say it's bad or it's good or a guilty pleasure, but I remember it being fun. It's a fun comic book movie. I remember the effects at times did look pretty TV level budget effects. Just the effects at times weren't that great. It does it's a little bit like Black Panther at times, but it's a decent comic book movie, and it is very enjoyable. Shazam! I love this movie. I love the comedy, the acting, the writing. Everything about it, the action, the effects, it's very, very good. This movie, I think it gets a little underappreciated because I think this is the best DC movie probably ever since The Dark Knight Rises. But yeah, if you haven't seen Shazam, you have to see it. It is a very, very funny and enjoyable movie. Godzilla King of the Monsters. It has a lot of flaws, not the best Godzilla movie, though it is the best American Godzilla movie, but it is very fun to watch, and it's a popcorn film, and it does its job. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I love it. What else do I have to say? The Tim Story Fantastic Four double feature. Don't even ask. La La Land. I said West Side Story was my favorite Broadway musical, but La La Land is my favorite musical in general. The acting, the singing, the choreography, the lighting, the direction, the cinematography, it's all great. And if you're into theater, musical theater or anything, you have to watch La La Land. The Greatest Showman. It's got good songs, and the lighting is good, but it's not as good as La La Land. Airplane. Don't Call Me Shirley edition. If you haven't seen Airplane, then what are you doing? This is the best comedy ever. That's all I have to say. You have to see Airplane, and else don't even see the trailer. Jojo Rabbit, one great comedy to another great comedy. I've already talked about this before. You already know my thoughts about it. It's great. It's great. You have to watch it. You have to watch it. This is just a great comedy, and just don't underestimate it. Shin Godzilla, with English dubbed. Out of all the Godzilla movies I've seen, much, I haven't seen a lot, but this is probably the worst dubbed. I'm just saying, but it's got good cinematography and good directing, and Godzilla is on. It is pretty fun, but it has its flaws. Godzilla looks like a puppet, like when he's close up to his face. He just looks like a puppet. I do like the fire breathing scene. It's great. I think it's the best one. It's just a bunch of people standing in a room, and it's not focused on the military as much, but it's trying to be realistic. But it's not as good as people said it was, and just Godzilla gets frozen at the end, and now like Toho is not following up on this movie, so I don't know. It's not as good as everyone says it is.